Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch today. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead, is Israel headed for a full-scale war with Hezbollah, the terrorist group stepping up its attacks on northern Israel in recent weeks. We're going to take a look at the damage inflicted on the Jewish state and Israel's response. What will happen to the universities where anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian protests took place in recent months? Now there's a movement to make them pay a price out of their own wallets. Honoring the heroes of D-Day today in Normandy, France, on the 80th anniversary of that historic invasion that marked a turning point in World War II. And also in Europe, signs God is moving, with thousands attending revival events, with many making decisions to follow Jesus Christ. All those stories and more ahead today, right here on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We're going to begin this half hour in Israel, where the battles with Hezbollah are intensifying as an Israeli reserve soldier was killed and 10 people hurt in a Hezbollah drone attack on a town in the northern part of the country. Tensions have been escalating in recent weeks as Hezbollah terrorists have stepped up their strikes from across the Lebanese border. CBN News contributor Chuck Holton brings us this report from the front lines on the impact of these assaults. And we're going to take a look at what they are doing to the lives of Israeli citizens.
Last month marked the highest intensity of Hezbollah aggression against Israel since October, growing to an average of 10 incidents per day. The terror organization has used various weapons to target civilian areas, forcing more than 60,000 people to evacuate their communities. One such place is Malkia Kibbutz, located right on the border. When everyone else left, Eitan Oren stayed behind to keep the farm alive.
Here in Malkia, we are in normal days about 550 to 600 people in normal days. At the moment, about 15 remained, about 15. All the rest been evacuated.
So this kibbutz has hundreds of acres of these beautiful cherries right here. They're ripe and ready to harvest. And believe me, I could eat these things all day long. Problem is there's nobody to harvest them because of the threat from the north, just a mile or so away. And as if farming was not difficult enough, they have to deal with this. Right here, you're looking at a crater from a mortar round that burned all the trees in the vicinity. And so the very few people that are here working on this kibbutz are just doing whatever they can to sort of triage the farm and keep it from just going fallow and all these beautiful trees being destroyed. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant addressed the situation, emphasizing the need for a strong military response.
Nasrallah is dragging Lebanon into a very, very difficult reality. The ones who will pay the price will be the people of Lebanon and Hezbollah forces.
In addition to damage caused to farms and infrastructure, Hezbollah's bombardment has sparked dozens of wildfires, further straining the region's resources and putting lives at risk.
And these are mortars. We're hitting that apple trees, all burned, nothing to talk about. I mean, they're alive. Next year they will be fine. But this year they're all gone, kaput.
No matter whether they get a ceasefire agreement in Gaza or not, the war here in Israel really cannot end until they address the problems they're having here in the north. This is the town of Kiryat Shimona, which once was a town of 25,000 people, but now it's all but empty. And that smoke you see back there is why. The constant barrage every day of drones and missiles and rockets that come into this town make it impossible for the residents to move back home. And so they're going to have to stay in hotels all around this country until the government does something about the problem of Hezbollah.
If we are not unified, if we are not together, we're going to have another October 7th and another October 7th. So please back up from your agenda, or the right or the left, I don't care, and be together. But please, let's get the job done and have patience.
From the Israel-Lebanon border, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is joining us now to continue our coverage from Jerusalem. So, Chris, Israel has promised a firm response against Hezbollah for their attacks. How much success has Israel had so far?
Well, right now, Ephraim, they've eliminated a number of Hezbollah leaders in South Lebanon, more than 300. They've been hit all over southern Lebanon. And according to some senior IDF officers, they've caused massive damage. They've hit a large weapons depot recently. But this is a big but. They've not significantly damaged Hezbollah's strategic missile arsenal, which is more further north. And this probably will be dealt with in an all-out war. But right now, it's very important not to underestimate the damage that Hezbollah could do to Israel. And you see in Chuck's report there is written an excellent report exactly what it's like there on the northern border. And those people are suffering very, very much up there on the northern border.
Let's talk about that suffering. How has that been in northern Israel from these Hezbollah attacks?
Well, major damage, and you can see agriculture. And if you've ever been up there in the northern part of Israel, there's lots of orchards, lots of fields, lots of agriculture. And right now, most of that is not being harvested, like Chuck showed. There's about 100,000 Israelis that have evacuated either voluntarily or mandatory, and they're living all over the country. We've mentioned before, they're here in Jerusalem at different hotels. There's about 40 communities along the Israeli-Lebanese border that are basically ghost towns like Kiryat Shimona. The fire damage a few days ago was significant. It was twice as much as the 2002 Lebanon War. And I would just add as well, Ephraim, you know, we had a briefing probably a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and they said that the Second Lebanon War won't be followed by the Third Lebanon War, but by the First Northern Front War, meaning it's not going to be just Lebanon, but it will be Syria as well, with any future war between Hezbollah and all of Iran's proxies.
In light of the fact that we're still fighting Hamas, what would a full-scale war with Hezbollah look like?
Well, Hezbollah has a significant arsenal, and as I said, much of that arsenal is not necessarily right on the border, but some further north in the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon. And this arsenal can hit almost anywhere in Israel. And they could fire perhaps several thousand drones and missiles every day because of what they've been able to stockpile ever since the 2006 Lebanon War. And during that war, they fired nearly 4,000 rockets, but in 34 days. And you can imagine what they could do in just a day when 4,000 rockets would fire in one day. What it did in 2006, about 1 million people either had to live in bomb shelters or evacuate from the north. And some of these rockets are very accurate. They have payloads of up to a ton of explosives. And so this is really, a whole new level of warfare from what Israel has been fighting for the last 8 months or so with Hamas. And it's going to be a major escalation when this happens. You know, we've been hearing for several years from that really a war with Hezbollah is not a question of if, but just a question of when.
Yeah, we're talking 8 months in the war, as you said, against Hamas in Gaza. What is the status for the talks for a ceasefire and releasing the hostages at this point?
Well, unfortunately for the hostages and their families and so much of Israel, it looks very grim right now. Hamas reportedly has rejected a ceasefire agreement. One of the leaders of Hamas, Hananya, he said there's no hostages released without the end of the war. And from a Hamas point of view, they can't agree to anything less than two things: the end of the war and the pullout of all Israeli forces. On the other hand, Israel can't agree to the end of the war and the pullout of Israeli forces. So that really is a stalemate right now. It doesn't look like that's going to be bridged at all. The U.S. does believe that there's a deal that's still on the table. But it looks like the intransigence of Hamas, it won't budge right now. And so it looks very unfortunate for the hostages and their families.
When we spoke yesterday, Wednesday, you noted that it marked Jerusalem Day there in Israel. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's a celebration of when Israel regained the city of Jerusalem in the 1967 Six-Day War. That was the first time in more than 2,000 years that the Jewish people had Jerusalem in their hands. Yesterday, tens of thousands celebrated, marching through the streets of Jerusalem and ended up celebrating at the Western Wall. It's a good good time to mention a CBN film called In Our Hands, A Battle for Jerusalem. It's an amazing film, a docudrama about what happened on that June 6, 1967. That was a watershed in Israeli and Jewish history. You remember Colonel Matagor. He was on the Temple Mount, and he said this famous saying, "The Temple Mount is in our hands." It reverberated around the world, and next year in Jerusalem was no longer a dream for the Jewish people.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Chris Mitchell, reporting from Jerusalem. We appreciate your insights. Stay safe and know that many of us are praying for you and our entire team there in Israel. Coming up, what will be the fallout for universities after the pro-Palestinians and anti-Israel protests on their campuses in recent months? Some actions against these schools are already underway, and those moves could hit the universities in their wallets while helping out students. We're going to bring you the story when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
Demands are growing for Columbia University and other schools to refund the tuition of students prevented from attending classes because of anti-Israel protests. Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio recently sent a letter to Columbia's president urging students be compensated for the loss of educational experiences and opportunities. On this week's episode of the Global Lane, Campus Reform Higher Education Fellow Ken Tashi argues colleges and universities failed in their response to the disruption of classes.
It's a worthy argument to make, and I appreciate Senator Rubio taking the lead on demanding such from Columbia, and hopefully that spreads to other institutions.
Well, how likely then would Columbia or any other university be to give tuition refunds, or at least partial ones, because it seems these claims may end up in court?
Well, they are likely going to end up in court. And, let's just take the basic breach of contract scenario. If you're an individual selling a product and you represent how it works, why it works, where it works, how it's going to benefit you as a consumer if you buy it, and you rely on those representations and you get that product home and it doesn't perform in the manner in which was represented, you've got a legitimate complaint for a breach of contract. And the same would hold true in higher education. Higher ed, Columbia included, makes all kinds of representations about the educational experience students will have if they come to the institution. All you have to do is look at their student handbook, their course catalogs, their very well-crafted marketing materials, their websites, all of which present representations that parents and potential students rely on. And if you fail to fulfill those representations, as it was the case with Columbia and other institutions, where they failed to provide educational experiences and opportunities like free access to world-class facilities, the ability to maintain a safe and secure campus environment, access to in-class instruction, commencement experiences, then you indeed are failing to provide what you've represented you will, and I think a viable complaint for breach of contract exists.
Well, I think definitely for Jewish students, I mean, many were prevented from actually getting through and attending classes. They were blocked from that. And so is this a serious movement, or is it just limited to Columbia? Only Columbia, I guess Columbia's Bernard College and USC canceled commencement.
Well, I mean, I think it's a serious movement that should be considered across the board. And let me might add on Jewish students. I mean, they would not only have where their educational experiences and opportunities were denied, a breach of contract complaint, but where they were denied access to campus, where they were denied entrance into buildings, where they were denied other benefits on the campus, or where they were subjected to threats or intimidation or harassment. They've got a number of other legal rationales to pursue there, among them discrimination and violation of state and federal civil rights. So I would hope and encourage those students to pursue those actions. But just across the board on the loss of educational opportunities, I think it's important that parents and students really critically evaluate the way institutions responded to these protests and to consider potentially taking their educational dollars elsewhere. I think Congress needs to continue to put pressure on these institutions to consider reimbursement at a minimum but ultimately also to reevaluate their own policies and to demonstrate how they're going to handle these kind of protests differently down the road. And if they fail to do so, there should be a risk of losing federal funding. And last, the boards of trustees, they are ultimately the gatekeeper at these institutions over the leadership decisions of their institutions. And if they have a president who, through some type of weak, timid, anemic response, left their campus open and in the control of these protesters for extended periods of time, then I think boards of trustees really need to take the appropriate steps to replace those individual presidents.
And your thoughts, Ken, on the boycott and divestment movement on college campuses? Are more colleges and universities planning to divest from Israel in response to these protests, or are those considerations quietly going away now?
Yeah, I think they are quietly going away. I think one thing many institutions did do from the beginning was indicate that they would not accept any demand as part of the protester manifestos to divest in Israel corporations, or to discontinue student exchange programs or study abroad programs with Israel. And I commend those institutions that were strong in their response on that issue. Again, what we ultimately saw here with these campus protests is these presidents capitulated to the demands of these groups, and in many ways gave these individuals the ability to dictate negotiations over disembarking campus, breaking down these encampments, which again, I think was the wrong approach. They should have been much stronger and decisive at the beginning of these protests rather than at the end.
Okay, a lot of parents reevaluating whether or not they want to send their students to universities to be indoctrinated in leftist ideology, and also have safety concerns there, Ken. So Ken Tashi, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add, ultimately for these college presidents, regardless of all the different roles and responsibilities they have, at the core of their job is to be the chief public safety officer on their campus. And for those institutional presidents that prioritize the message of the protesters and professional agitators over their students, those presidents need to go.
Okay, Ken Tashi, Higher Education Fellow at Campus Reform. Thank you, Ken, for being with us. We appreciate it.
Gary, thanks for your time. Much appreciated.
Also on this week's episode of The Global Lane, could Ukraine's approved use of U.S. weapons to attack Russia lead to World War III? And 80 years after D-Day, an American Gen Zer travels to Normandy in memory of his great uncle. You can see all of that on The Global Lane this evening on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 8 Eastern. You can also see it on the CBN News app, or you can watch it on YouTube. Still ahead, honoring the heroes of D-Day today on the 80th anniversary of the historic invasion during World War II. We're going to have the story for you. It's coming up right after this. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Today marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the U.S. and Allied attack that changed history in that incredible invasion by helping defeat Nazi Germany in World War II. CBN's Lori Johnson shows us how heroes of that day are being recognized at the location where the troops came ashore.
Survivors who were able made the pilgrimage to Normandy, France to attend the 80th D-Day anniversary. Now in their 90s and 100s, it's likely the last time any will attend such a milestone event. All week, thousands paid tribute to those who fought in that French invasion that helped liberate the country and defeat Hitler. 2,500 U.S. soldiers were killed that day. President Biden spoke at an event highlighting their sacrifice. He linked D-Day to the ongoing commitment to protecting freedom. Earlier, thousands paid tribute to those who fought in the historic invasion. Normandy residents and others cheered along a parade route honoring American veterans like 98-year-old Charlie Brooking.
I just can't believe the turnout and generosity of all the people. God bless everyone.
Nearby, more than 300 U.S., Belgian, and English paratroopers recreated the airborne offensive that secured strategic points inland, such as Pegasus Bridge in northwestern France, the site of another remembrance service. A ceremony at Normandy's Memorial Plaza drew family members and veterans like 100-year-old Henry Armstrong.
Before Normandy, I had no idea what was going to happen. And when it did happen, I did my best.
On the sands of Omaha Beach, most veterans, like 99-year-old Walter Stitt, remembered those who died in battle.
All those young men that never had a chance to go home and find the love of their life and hold their children in their arms. It's sad.
Indeed, many visited the Normandy American Cemetery. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Continuing in Europe, how God is moving with thousands saved at revival events. We're going to have that story for you when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
The fire of revival has ignited in Europe and it's spreading. Roughly 60,000 Christians showed up for their annual Pentecost conference in Holland. And more than 1,000 people made decisions to follow Jesus Christ at gatherings in Hungary and Italy last week. International evangelist Jean-Luc says the power of the Lord moved at the two conferences as people experienced healings, deliverance, and salvation. About 2 weeks ago, Treshel delivered a message to some 25,000 people in the March for Jesus in Paris, France. Well, time now for your Thursday Thankful. And today I invite you to join me in this prayer of gratitude. Father, thank you for reminding me in tough times, better days are coming. Your word and your promises are true, and my eyes are ready to see something I've never seen. To that prayer, may we all say amen and amen. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can find them online at cbnnews.com. Take a moment, let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye, God bless.